Hey everybody, welcome to Manifesting with the Mergoddess Tuesday. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, waving
Hey.
on in.
Yeah. So I told you I had a question up my sleeve that I. Oh, how about we use the mic?
Yeah.
There we go. I have a question up my sleeve, and you have no sleeves.
I got no sleeves, so I'm all ears.
All right. So I'll throw, you catch. So I saw you posted something about on social media about like your decade.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so I did a little math and I discovered the decade is like 10 years.
Uh-huh.
That's a
Yeah.
long time. And
Uh-huh.
what I wanted to ask you about is the tension or the dynamic or the dance of manifesting that far out in terms of like, okay, I have this vision, like this is the thing that I want. It's 2017 or something, and now I'm like, or whenever you started, like I'm going to make it to the Olympics, and like versus, like keep having your eye so far in the future as opposed to focusing on the now, because I think a lot of people, especially New Year's, making their resolutions, seeing, envisioning, like, oh, well, this is what I really want, and it takes them away from this moment.
Mm.
How do you navigate that?
Well, so I'll say, basically in 2010, like I didn't even think about the Olympics then. Like when I was in 2010, like I was just like, okay, let me like see what happens when I cut out alcohol and cut out fast food, like I was just like what motivated me was that like my pants were too tight at the time. And I was like, okay, like I don't want to be overweight, like that was something that I wasn't really into doing. I just had it in my head that I was not going to be overweight. And so that trigger led me to like cutting out those two things. And then later that year, I lost my job. So the last time I was in like corporate America was in 2010. And that losing my job then like gave me this opportunity to look for something better for myself. So, at the time, like, I mean, I just started a boot camp. I started working out. Like, I just started working on myself. And then, like, these things led into that. So then in 2012 I was like, oh, I should start like a personal training and swim coaching business because I love this. And then like that, like by tuning in to really like appreciating myself, like then it led to this bigger goal. And like the fun part was just like telling people about it, like, and getting their reactions. I'm like, yeah, I'm training for the Olympics, and they'd be like, yeah, and I never like really tuned into like what they were doing. Like I was just so excited about like what if, I could do it. And then like I would be tested during these times, I would go through a breakup that, I would lose money, like I wouldn't know how to pay for things, and I would go through all these things, but the goal was still like really far out there. And like now after like just continuously doing that, like now it's like happening really fast. Like I'm getting all these emails from the Olympic Training Center. I literally leave in 7 days, and it's like, but now I look at it and it's just like, wow, like what if I would have given up? What if I would have just said, oh no, that goal is not, what if I would have listened to what people said? I wouldn't have been here right now to get to experience something that I just longed inside me, and it can happen for anyone. Like it's just, you just have to really like just think that it like really imagining what it is versus like having the fear, because the fear doesn't allow it to come into your reality. But like by just imagining it and focusing on that feeling, like eventually it has to come to you because it's something that you want.
what if you want something that turns out not to be right for you? Like, the you in 2010 wanted certain things that the you now probably doesn't want anymore,
Mm-hmm.
right? So to
Mm-hmm.
be
Yeah.
willing to upgrade, whether it's to say like to something bigger, or in many cases for upgrading for people to something much smaller, right? Like I
Mm-hmm.
had Rob Greenfield on the podcast, who um, basically is trying to live as lightly on the earth, and he like spent a year traveling around and eating just what he foraged, and in his 20s all he wanted to be was a millionaire, like just like doing all the marketing and hustling. And then he realized like he had a much bigger goal, which was to change the world without needing to use money.
Mm-hmm.
So like I think one of his stunts was he like flew to a South American country with like $5 in his pocket, and like lived and off, like worked and relied on the generosity of, some very poor people. Um,
Wow. Now that's manifesting.
yeah,
I feel like
yeah.
I'm not really manifesting over here compared to that. I
He's
need to up my game
Yeah,
here.
he's hilarious. He once went to New York City and he decided he got these big, large, clear garbage bags, and he didn't throw anything out. So everything he used that would have been garbage, he then put in one of these garbage bags, and he started wearing them. He would like tape them to his limbs, and he'd be like, after a month, he's like walking around
Oh my
to
God.
to right. But if he had just gone for the first thing he wanted to manifest, I'm sure he'd be a multimillionaire by now.
Mm-hmm.
But he grew.
Yeah. And I think that's like the purpose of having a big goal is because you grow from that. Like my initial goal when I first thought I want to go to the Olympics is different than now. One, it's a completely different Olympics, right? Like it's not even the same one. But two, like it's not about me anymore. Like my ego has surrendered to any piece of needing anything for this, more about just like be having gratitude for what I've been through, and then being able to share this with everyone and inspire them to go out and do something that's bigger and better than they thought they could be, so that they can grow and evolve into their best version of their self and keep going, because there's more to this than just 2020 for me. It's just like, whoa, like, I mean, I literally dreamed of this day, and now it's like, whoa, it's here. Okay. Like, am I ready? And there's still like some triggers and things that I'm just like, clearing up, and just like knowing that like I have prepared for this, and like that's the other thing. It's like when something comes to you, like say, you wanted to lose 20 pounds and like you fought it for a while, and then all of a sudden, poof, the 20 pounds is gone. A lot of times people don't now set a new goal, and then they end up gaining the 20 pounds. Oh, I used to be there. I was an athlete as a kid, and they have all these excuses now. But like, instead of using one goal to revert back to an old version of yourself, you can use that goal that maybe didn't get you where you wanted to now propel you to now a new goal that's going to forward what's happening now and what things that you enjoy.
Hmm. So I've been reading this week the work of a guy named Dan Harmon, whom fans of the TV show Rick and Morty will know. Dan Harmon is like a writer, and he writes about his model of how you tell a story. Basically, it's a circular pattern. Basically, a person wants something, goes and gets it, has to struggle, brings it back, has to reintegrate into the world. Yeah, I'm simplifying a lot, but one of the things he says is that like the turning point is after you've gotten the thing, and then you have to kind of bring it back. Like the thing could be like a place where you can rest and like, okay, now I'm happy. But it's like bringing it back to the rest of the world is like you've accomplished something, and like what you're doing with your coaching and with your teaching and blog is to kind of share
Mhm.
it, to pass it on. And he wrote something that I really really like, because I've been working on trying to figure out, like, when we coach people, somebody's gonna, like, at a certain point, almost unpredictably, is gonna light up, and they're gonna get
Mhm.
it. And they're like,
Mhm.
boom, and like, okay, they're good. I'll be their friend. I'll help them. I'll give them advice, but they don't need me anymore. Like,
Yeah.
they're self propelled, and
Uh-huh.
trying to figure out, like, how do you make that magic happen. And so what Dan Harmon wrote, I'll read it to you. When you realize that something is important, really important, to the point where it's more important than you gain full control over your destiny.
Hmm.
And I've been really playing with that, and like how that plays out. That as long as it's about your 20 pounds, that's not that important,
Yeah.
right? Even if it's like, yeah, I
Uh-huh.
want to look really good in a bathing suit. I want to attract a hot guy. I want whatever it is, right? It has to sort of transcend you
Mhm.
to become the goal that pulls you when you don't feel like it.
Yeah, because I mean, that's really what's happening to me now. Because if I go back to my 2010 self, it was just cutting out alcohol and McDonald's, and then it's like, then like over time, then like something was like, oh, you should train for the Olympics. And at the time, like I was still overweight. Like, I'm like, how am I going to get to be an elite athlete, like at this stage? But then it's just like by asking for that goal and then going through all these different phases of my life and then realizing that the purpose of this goal was bigger than me, because if somebody like myself who can literally like come from over here can achieve this, anybody can do it. And that's like the bigger piece for me. It's that it's not about me, and that's what's pulling me now. So if I'm tired or I'm like, oh, I don't want to do the workout, it's like, no, like I want to do it because I get to share, I get to blog about these times that maybe aren't so fun, but I can still look at the gratitude that I get to experience this. Like I chose this experience for myself, and so that I can share it with others and bring light to it, because it's like a lot of people don't know about the Paralympics, and I'm so excited to like share like what goes on at a training camp or what happens in these incidences. And people aren't, this isn't something that people are doing. And so what a great gift that I have this like talent of sharing my experiences with people. And so, and now it's like, it feels like really in flow to like do that.
Hmm. So how does this connect with our audience, with folks who are not trying to get to any kind of Olympics and who may still be struggling with habits?
Well, I would say that if your goal doesn't feel big enough, you should search for a bigger goal so that you can like real like something that feels like maybe the 20 pounds, like, okay, it feels like you could do it, but you're still not motivated. But I think like even for myself, like if I would have like the jeans, for me, the jeans were like my fat was coming over my jeans, and that like was the first thing. But then like literally in 2 years later, I then had this really big goal. So I think that if you can just really choose, like maybe you want to run a marathon and you're not even getting off the couch right now. Like that's a perfect example to just like shoot for the stars so that you can get off the couch. So you can start walking to the mailbox and see where you are in a day, in a week, in a month, in 2 months, and then in a year, and then in 10 years. And it's like the most amazing thing to look back at yourself and see how far you've come. And it's not going to be easy. It's not something that is going to be just like, ooh, like I'm going to snap my fingers and poof, I'll be doing the marathon. You are going to have to go through, some tests, and the tests are going to test you so that you're ready for the goal that you wanted to do. And so each day there's going to be something that tells you, oh, maybe I'll sleep in or maybe I won't, and you get to choose every time. And what I'm learning is that it doesn't have to take 10 years to do it. You could literally, you don't have to struggle with it as much as I decided to, because there are a lot of times that there were so many paths that I could take, and I would go down a different one that maybe didn't lead me there. And so it would take a little longer. So, but it's all perfect. It's all for learning. I'm grateful for it all. So whichever way you go, it's all perfect. And that's the message.
I'm interested in that idea of fear, because the big goals generate more fear than little goals.
Yeah.
Right? The fear of what if I don't get it? And I'll just say a couple things about that. One is that facing that fear is going to be the first challenge. And not necessarily to declaw it or face it down or argue with it, but simply to feel it. Right? And simply to be okay to have fear. And the second thing is that recognize that the fear is the inverse of your longing. Right? If you really don't care, then you're not going to have much fear about it. Like I finished an avocado and I was standing with the peel, and like the compost is across the kitchen, and I'm like, I'm going to throw the avocado peel into the compost. And as I threw it, I knew immediately that it was going to miss. And I'm like, oh well. And I was like, well, that's the definition of not a very big deal.
Yeah.
Right. But if it had been like a free throw in Game 7 of the NBA Finals, like there would have been, I might have put more pressure on myself. So recognize that the point of the goal is not that it's you have to achieve it or else. Right? Like,
yeah.
The point of the goal is to get yourself into a position where you have the right to go for it.
Exactly. Getting ready to be ready, to be ready, to be ready, to be more ready.
Right.
Yeah, because even, like fear, like you said, like by feeling it, like all of the thoughts that we have, they turn into feelings. And so by allowing yourself to feel the fear, go through all the things, like, oh my gosh, like I want to do this marathon, and oh my God, I don't believe that I can do it. And just like keep going through, like, well, what if I like break my hip, or, like what if all these things happen, and you just keep going through different scenarios that are scary for you. And then like, it's just like, you get to a point where it's like, okay, like just by going after it is the fun part. Like achieving it is like old news. Like I'm almost like, I don't want the journey to be over, because it's like, okay, once it's manifested, it's like new goal, like, but I mean, it's still, exciting to go through the process of seeing yourself, releasing fear, getting more confident in yourself, and allowing yourself to shift through feeling those feelings, because we can heal ourselves with all these past beliefs and things that we have by feeling it. We feel it to heal it.
All right. Right. I was just looking over, my friend Peter Bregman sent me a draft of a course that he's going to be offering about leadership. And one of the pillars of leadership for him is confidence. And he defines confidence in a really interesting way, which is knowing yourself really well, which I love, because it's not, confidence is not, oh, I can do this thing that I really can't do. Right.
Yeah, because it's contradicting yourself. So it's creating like different things in the body that aren't allowing you to.
That for a lot of people, self-confidence feels like bullshitting themselves. It's like, yeah, I can run a 10K in under 45 minutes. Well, no, you can't. Right. If you know who you are, then you have you have total confidence. Like, I'm totally confident I could not run a 10K in under 45 minutes right now. I'm confident.
I'm confident.
Right. And I'm equally confident of the things that I can do. Not necessarily every time. Not necessarily when that person's watching or that day, but knowing myself. And that means eliminating the filters of ego and fear. Right? And just looking at facts.
Yeah. And just by going out and just seeing, like, just even doing that 1%, like, by giving yourself, like, the small little goals to add up to the goal, it allows you to gain that 1% confidence each time. So then you can build up to that. Like, for instance, so I had emailed my coach and I was like, oh yeah, I did a 13.7 25-yard free in practice. And he was like, no, that must have been a dream, But I didn't think, I knew that I had done it in some form, whether it was now or whenever. And literally I had a race this weekend and I swam a 13.5 split in my 25-yard free. And I was like, I told you I did it. Maybe you didn't see it, but I did it, and that was me, like, just by him saying that and me already having that belief within me, it made it concrete,
Right.
So that was
when
fun.
I said did, I meant next week.
Yes, exactly. But it was actually 2 days later that I then did it, It was like, oh, you must be dreaming. I did dream, and now it's here. So here we are. So that was fun. Yeah.
All right. Good for now?
We're good for now. And so next week I will be at the Olympic Training Center on Tuesday on our normal scheduled programming. So we can either change it to a Monday if we want, or we can skip a week and come back the following week. It's up to you.
I'll let you know.
Sounds good.
We'll do a little cliffhanger for the folks now.
Yes. Well, to be continued. ...
All right. Well, either way, we look forward to hearing about the Olympic Village.
Yes.
All right.
Waves for now.
Waves. Bye.
Bye.